what does it take to become a great leader? Leadership skills aren't only for high-ranking executives and key decision makers, they can be used by people in all stages of life and occupations, from teachers and household managers to small business owners and team leaders. In this episode, we welcome back Adriana Torres, a dedicated SCORE volunteer and successful entrepreneur, to share her insights and some practical tips on how all of us can elevate our own leadership skills. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Triangle's Making Money Personal podcast, where we engage in real talk about financial matters that affect our community. Today's episode is sponsored by Triangle Credit Union, recently voted Best Credit Union in New Hampshire.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Making Money Personal podcast. I'm Liz Costa here. Super excited to present today's guest, Adriana. How are you doing today?
Liz, I'm awesome. It's so nice to be here, and I'm so honored to be invited for a third time to have this conversation with you, and especially talking about the awesome topic of leadership. That's a big one.
Oh, yes. We had discussed multiple times prior to this episode the importance of what leadership is and where it plays in most of our lives. We may not even realize it. So I'm really, really excited to have Adriana today to talk about this because she's an expert in this area, I would say. She's laughing, chuckling over there.
Okay, well, no pressure there.
No pressure, no
but
pressure.
I'll try to do my best with that expectation.
Okay, so before we begin, I did just want to kind of like throw this out there for everyone listening. So as we were putting this episode together, we realized this concept is huge. There's so much that we could cover, and we feel like we probably couldn't fit it all in a 30-minute, 40-minute segment. So we decided to kind of split it up into a part one and a part two. So this particular episode, Adriana and I are just going to talk about the first part of this leadership concept. And we want to talk about like developing your inner leader. We want to talk about what leadership is, what it's not, because we'll cover some of that as well. And what are some of the misunderstandings around some common misunderstandings people have about leadership. But before we get into the meat of it, Adriana, I just want to give you a chance to share, if we have any new listeners who might not have heard any of our prior episodes, share a little bit about who you are and what your passions are.
Definitely, Liz. For those who have not heard me on episodes 70 and 73, there's a little bit of a shout out there.
I'll link to those in the show notes.
Yeah, right. I am Adriana Torres. I am actually originally from Cuba. I have been spending most of my life here in the U.S. And I call myself a neurodivergent person, which means I have a lot of different passions and purposes, but I kind of channel them in different ways. I like to be not only busy, but also busy with intention, in meaningful ways that not only serve me, but serve other people as well. I try to always contribute and use change as an element that can really give us improvement in our life at different ways. So I do this through SCORE. I am actually the community ambassador for our Granite Region chapter here in New Hampshire. And I also have my own coaching business that is called The Process Reinvention. And it's about reinventing the way that we look at the things that we do every day so we can design the life that we desire through our processes, which is very exciting to me because I'm all about processes. How can we actually have the process serve us instead of the other way around? So that is me in a little bit of a nutshell.
I love it. I love it. Adriana and I have had many opportunities to just chit chat, and I've come to her with some of my own questions. I'm like, Adriana, what do I do here? And she's kind of weighed in and kind of provided a little bit of coaching and help. So I highly recommend her skill set. And again, I'm so happy to have you on again for a third time chatting about this.
So grateful for your kind words, Liz.
Oh, well, anytime. So I guess we'll just move on to the kind of meat of this particular episode. So let's talk leadership, right? Why does leadership matter today? And where are some instances where somebody would need to use their leadership skills? In your professional experience and the things that you've seen, what kind of areas have you recognized leadership skills as necessities?
That's a very important question. And I find that leadership is something that is such an important topic to address Because as with any concept that impacts our life in many different ways and the life of many people, it also carries its misconceptions, right? And sometimes there is a lot of adherence to a traditional way of looking at it. So I will say that leadership always matters. Leadership matters always, right? And I will say it matters today more than ever because we live in a more complex world. The challenges that we're dealing with are more complex nowadays and with much more at stake for ourselves and also for our future generations. So I have seen that throughout the years and mostly in the last century and definitely in these few years of the next millennium, of the millennium that we're living at, leadership has taken a different shape. So when I talk about the need to use leadership skills, I like to refer to them as effective leadership skills. And what I mean by this is, these are skills that not only get the job done, but also they do it in a way that is empowering, inspiring, and sustainable in many different environments. So I had to develop myself, my own leadership skills to serve people in better ways. Let me give you an example. In my role as a community ambassador for the SCORE Granite Region chapter, I take the initiative to go out in the community and do what I call taking the pulse of the community. That's what I call it. So I want to find out what the needs and feelings are, what the worries and fears, the obstacles to their aspirations, the more important, impactful problems that they're dealing with, what our community is dealing with right now, right? So where they at also in their own mindset as a collective and as individuals. To me, this is a very vital practice to understand how we can serve them better. And I find that the ability, for example, to take initiative is one of those leadership skills. We see the need, we start finding ways to fill in the gaps. And because leadership skills are tools that we integrate into our practice, into what we do and how we do it, they can be used in many aspects of our lives, in family life, in business, social, environment, interactions, etc. So really, when we acquire those effective leadership skills, we can accomplish so much more.
Wow. I wrote down a couple concepts that you just shared that really jumped out at me. And one of them was the skills to serve, right? Which is usually where I would get initially hung up on, when I think leadership, I don't necessarily think serving, but I feel like that you can't be a leader without serving in some way. And that's what makes it effective, right? You can't be an effective leader without serving.
Exactly.
And then the other one that jumped out, it was the word initiative, taking initiative, how important that is for proper and effective leadership skills. A lot of people, and mainly speaking of myself, when I think of leadership, I think of someone at a high level, a prestigious level, someone who's highly recognized or has a lot of responsibilities. Are there other instances in life maybe where these leadership skills are necessary and maybe we're not naturally thinking that? Someone might be thinking, well, I don't, run a multinational corporation. Are leadership skills necessary for me? What would you say to someone who maybe doesn't see themselves with that potential?
Well, Liz, and I hope that I'm speaking to a lot of people out there with these thoughts and insights. I think that the traditional way of looking at this concept is it has to be somebody who holds a rank or a position somewhere, right?
Yeah, right.
But I think that developing leadership skills is important because leadership is also about navigating uncertainty and guiding people through change. And these skills are valuable in every part of life, right? A belief that I have acquired in recent years is this: leadership is for all. It's for all of us. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that we all are going to be holding manager roles or become CEOs of companies or be part of the C-suite in organizations, right? That means that we all can be leaders in our lives. And actually, I want to take it a step further.
Sure.
Right? That means to me that we also can be leaders of our lives. Okay? So we'll have the choice not only to lead our lives in ways that support our values, our purpose, our vision, but we also look around the environments where we work, where we live, where we connect, interact, and we can decide to make intentional contributions to add more value and improve the lives of the people around us too, to improve our environments. My definition of leadership is very simple. A leader is someone who others want to follow. And I put a pause in there because I want to repeat this, right? I think it's important to hear it maybe one more time. A leader is someone who others want to follow. So it is not bound by rank or role. It is defined by the way we show up for ourselves and for others. That means that being a leader is a choice we all can make. And there is a great benefit to this.
Yeah.
Because also, as each one of us develops the qualities that allow for more effective use of our resources, our time, our effort, our mind, we're more likely to face our challenges, our problems in more creative and effective ways. We can actually focus on solutions that work for all. We can open the space for many different ideas to come forward, for people to feel inspired, to make meaningful changes. All that can be accomplished with effective leadership skills. You know that I'm a fan of Simon Sinek, as you are.
Yeah. Oh, I am as well. Yes.
So I would like to mention a quote by Simon Sinek that actually summarizes what I have mentioned here. Leadership has nothing to do with rank. I knew many people who sit at the highest level of an organization who are not leaders. We do as they tell us because they have authority over us, but we do not trust them and we do not follow them. I know people at low levels of organizations that have no formal authority, but they have made a choice. The choice to look after the person to the left of them, the right of them, and we will trust them and follow them anywhere. Leadership is the awesome responsibility to see those around us rise, to see them achieve their ambitions and their dreams. And this is what servant leadership means. I serve your dream rather than you serve my bottom line. That's Simon Sinek, people.
Woo! Woo! I got chills listening to that.
You and me, we both. But it really, it kind of encompasses what I'm talking about here.
Yes.
It's about that service that is so important to have the skills of effective leadership, you know?
And that's not dependent on position. That's not dependent on, fame or any, recognition or anything like that. It's dependent on your mindset, who you are as a person, right? And the choices that you make.
Yes, who you develop yourself to be.
Because, you could, with these kinds of skills, you can be anywhere from on a high school sports team to a homemaker, who's running a household, or somebody who's maybe trying to start a nonprofit. All of these things aren't necessarily, like you said, they're not C-suite, they're not always positions of immense authority, but they are positions where leaders can stand out and people can make those choices that cause others to rally around them and support them.
And it makes me think of something. When you mention authority, to me, authority doesn't equal power.
Okay.
Because power comes from being influential. And I don't want to kind of coin this concept of influencer, the people on TikTok or whatever. Yeah. Influencing people is I think the most awesome way of being a leader, being able to kind of inspire people and help them follow your vision, because it's something that also adds value to themselves, you know? So you cannot be a person that only has authority. You have to influence the people in good ways, in positive ways, in impactful ways.
What was that quote from? Which book was that of Simon Sinek's?
I think that I saw him in one of those Facebook snippets.
Oh, okay.
So
yes.
Maybe it was mentioned in some book, but I know that he has so many awesome books, and that he has also books about leadership that I can mention here as well.
Well, we were bonding earlier about it. Particularly the Leaders Eat Last book. right?
Yes.
I think we can bring it up right now.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we can share it again in the next episode as well. But this book, I brought it in because I read it years ago. And I believe you're currently working on it, right? You just started it?
It's one of my reads right now.
I really enjoyed it. Again, it was so long ago. I wish I could really pull out a lot of those points, but I've long since forgotten some of them. I just remember the overall gist of the book was just very inspiring. It was very to the point, like that quote that you had read. I wouldn't be shocked if that quote is from this book, Leaders Eat Last, because it's just right within that whole genre, the whole topic. Yeah. But yeah, he includes a lot of like real life scenarios, a lot of understandable language and inspiring and motivating concepts. So I'd love to know your thoughts on it as you get farther down the book. And I also will refresh it. So by the time we do part 2, we'll probably have some more to chit chat about on that.
Exactly what I was thinking. So listen, folks, this is the appetizer, right?
Yes.
Because it's such a big concept. It's a big meal. It's like a 5-course meal. You don't start with the entree. You have to get a little bit into it. And appetizers, by their definition, are things that really motivate the hunger for more. Right?
Yes.
I think that in our culture, maybe an appetizer is something that is going to be the entree and you have to take the other stuff to go. But this is not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is giving you an appetizer that makes you hungrier. So.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So why is it so important to work on developing leadership skills? Because some people, I mean, you might hear, oh, he's a natural leader or she's a natural leader. What if like you as an individual maybe have never heard that from someone, or you're not sure you believe it about yourself, but you believe you can develop leadership skills. So why is it so important that we, as everyone, you said leadership is for all, right? Why is it important that we work on these skills in our lives?
Yes, when you hear the concept of natural leadership, I think that that naturally people are kind of adhering or developing these skills already, even if it's just in a way that is not very intentional or conscious, but they are following certain intuition that allows them to develop this, because I do believe that leaders are made. You know,
they're not like the chosen.
No,
few,
I mean,
right?
you can have people that maybe they are the son of the granddaughter of somebody who is a big CEO or a big tycoon, or somebody who has a big company, a big organization. And then they are selected to be the natural transition of leadership.
The next in line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make them a leader. That makes them somebody who has that responsibility. So I want to make that distinction, because it's very important for us to understand that just because you have the title out of the sun, that doesn't mean that you have all the skills that come with it. It's something that keeps on evolving and you keep on developing. So when people they recognize natural leaders, that means that these are people who have certain kind of skills, certain kind of traits that are making another people follow them. So that's the stuff that we want to pay attention to. What about this person? It could be their charisma, but it could be also their vulnerability, the way to connect with another people, the way that they can inspire trust in another people. There has to be something there that is much more attractive than just, hey, I am your manager, so you have to, follow me.
Yeah. How do you work on developing those skills?
You have to acquire a mindset that allows you to have that awareness that you need to develop those skills. And I think that is a great opportunity to kind of like in the, if we, for the section of debunking certain myths that come aligned with what people think of leadership, I think that kind of is going to accomplish that kind of task that you're asking me.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll get to that part in the next section.
Yes.
Cool. Well, okay. At this point, I think what we'll do is take a break, and then we'll hear a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll be back with the second section of this part 1 recording.
Looking forward to it.
Whether you currently own a small business or are thinking about launching one, we can take your business to the next level. At Triangle Credit Union, we have all the tools you need to help your business grow. We offer an array of deposit products and a variety of lending options, along with merchant and payroll services to simplify your finances. At Triangle Credit Union, serving our community is our business. Visit trianglecu.org for more information.
Welcome back. So, Adriana, in this last segment of part 1, we're going to kind of take time and talk about some common myths. So let's debunk some common misunderstandings or myths about leadership and leaders in general. So I know you had a couple things prepared, and I'm really curious to hear what kind of myths you think need to be debunked.
There you go, Liz. You know, Liz, that I love to debunk myths, right? Because it opens up the doors for people to new possibilities, to new understanding, and also to take new actions. You know, so the first one that comes to mind is, and I kind of like went up to 3 of them because there's so many more, but I think these 3 are very important to take into account for starters, right? The first one is leaders have all the answers and they don't make mistakes.
Oh.
That's a huge one.
They're not perfect?
Well, no, but you know why? Because leaders are human beings.
Yes.
Human beings that come with many aspects of humanity, fears, biases, limiting beliefs, you name them. So they can feel as powerless and frustrated as we do, and they're also learning to navigate uncertainties. There is also always for anybody a new scenario that they haven't contemplated.
Right.
And everybody in that situation goes, what do I do now? You know?
Yeah.
So the difference is when leaders realize that they don't have all the answers, they're open to discover better ways of doing things. They tap into the value that their team offers, and their team is an important part of finding the solutions. Because these leaders, they're going to rely on collaboration and inclusiveness to solve problems.
Fascinating. Okay, so we know leaders aren't perfect and they don't know everything.
Exactly, because they're human beings, and that's also connected with vulnerability.
That's fascinating. Awesome, Adriana. I love it.
So let's go to myth number 2. And I have experienced this many, many years ago, but I think that still some people are experiencing this as well. Myth number 2 is, it is about me. The function of my team is to make me look good. And this is unfortunately one of those myths that managers in many organizations and even business owners fall into. Once we decide to step up and be leaders, it ceases to be about us. Our focus changes, actually. It becomes about them. It becomes, how can I find better ways to communicate, to listen, to empower my team to succeed, and to align their values with the values of the business or the organization? How can I create a culture of appreciation and kindness with foundation of psychological safety and vulnerability based on trust that is reaffirmed every day? So Brené Brown, one of my other favorite authors, said it so well in her book, Dare to Lead, which is one of my favorite reads about leadership and the most marked up book that I have. Almost every page, I have a little post-it sticker thing going there. So she said, leaders must either invest a reasonable amount of time attending to fears and feelings, or squander an unreasonable amount of time trying to manage ineffective and unproductive behavior. If we look at the Maslow's pyramid of human needs, maybe you're familiar with it, safety is very close to the base. So if people emotions are not attended to first, and fear being one of the most important ones to deal with, they will not get to the levels of belonging or self-fulfillment. As expressed in that quote by Simon Sinek, leaders are there to serve the needs of their people, to serve their dreams, their aspirations.
It's going back to service.
Yes.
Right? Goes back to service.
Back to the basics, isn't it?
Wow, fascinating.
And we're finishing with myth number 3. Are we ready?
Oh, absolutely. Woo, drum roll.
So this is what this myth tells us, that being a leader is telling people what to do, being the one with all the answers, and kind of connects a little bit to myth number one, right? So the changes are designed behind the scenes by leadership and trickle down to the team. I want to kind of debunk this myth by sharing a story. Years ago, I had a wonderful manager who operated so much more as a facilitator than a manager. He gave us the tools, he gave us the training, the ears to express our ideas and concerns, and sometimes our frustrations. Mm-hmm. He gave us a lot of agency to have that power within our processes. This manager was an effective leader because he created an environment where others felt empowered to make decisions, contribute their ideas, and grow. That is very empowering. So he used his influence to guide and support people in realizing their potential. He always said to us, "You are the experts in your processes. You will have the better ideas and solutions to the problems." He believed that the best answers come from the people who create the value. There was a lot of transparency and not behind the scenes stuff. So this can be probably something that is a little bit new and unexpected and shifting for people's beliefs at this time. But it's very important to understand this because that's one of the reasons, one of the roots of why he was an effective leader. He empowered us to play an important role in changes and improvements. And this actually has inspired me a great deal in my coaching business because the people are the experts. I am only a guidance and a facilitator. I give knowledge and training on how to use the tools and how to practice them, but they are the owners of their processes. They know better. They're going to decide how they're going to use their tools, not me. So it is a wonderful thing to be empowered that way, to design your processes to serve you better and not the other way around.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, it makes you think about how important it is to recognize that the people you're working with, they're the ones bringing a lot of skills to the table that you may not have. And how can you use those skills to get everyone to work together to get the results? You know, it's like you mentioned, as a coach, you're not going in trying to tell this person or advise them how they do their particular, I don't know, I would say business, right? Like you're not an expert in what their business might be, but you're helping them use their knowledge and skills to effectively put it together according to what your knowledge is and what your experience is. And that's like business functions and systems, right?
Yes, I think it makes a lot of sense because ultimately they are the ones who are the drivers of their processes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And if you were to come in, or if someone were to come in and assume that they know more about all of that,
they're not really helping them feel empowered to
pretty much get any results, like get what they're looking for, right? Yeah. Let's do a quick sum up. So what were the 3 myths particularly? So if you go down 1, 2, 3, just for as a little recap.
Okay, recap. Myth number 1, leaders have all the answers and they don't make mistakes. Myth number 2 is about me and the function of my team is to make me look good.
Yes.
Myth number 3, being a leader is telling people what to do, being the one with all the answers. So the changes are designed behind the scenes by leadership and trickle down to the team.
Awesome. Wow. And these are all the things that we need to keep in mind about if we want to become effective leaders, right?
Yes.
So let's not fall for these myths or these misunderstandings, right? Awesome. Okay, well, at this time, I think we're kind of right around that end mark, but we want to plug next part 2 of this whole discussion. We're going to take more time in the second half to discuss the how-tos, like how can someone become that person? What are the steps that they can take? What are the things that they can do to build those leadership skills? So we're going to go a lot more in depth on how you can cultivate those leadership skills within yourself. So right now we kind of talked about a lot about what leadership is, what it's not, what you can expect out of being a leader, but how can people get there and what can they do within their own lives to get those skills?
Those are very important questions, and that's going to be the main course of this whole 5-course dinner. We started with the appetizers, we gave you a little bit of hunger, and I think that we're going to get very deep into that. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity as well. I think it's going to be awesome.
I agree. And we'll have a lot more quotes to share, and resources for y'all. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Adriana. I'm excited to have you back next time.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you, Liz.
That wraps up this episode of the Making Money Personal podcast. If you've enjoyed today's show, we would love to hear from you. Email your thoughts about this show or any other ideas at tcupodcast@trianglecu.org. Thank you to all of our subscribers, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss out on any new episodes or money tips. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.